that body to order at this time, and I will ask the clerk to please take roll.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, the item number 2 is the approval of the agenda as presented and/or as amended.
Move.
It's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is accepted. Item 3 is a hearing and the adoption of the amended Municipal Housing Agency annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30 of 2019.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and open that up. Is there anyone here to discuss the Municipal Housing Agency annual budget? Seeing none, is Chris here? Any comments, Chris? Okay,
Move.
all right. Item 3 for the budget is moved. Ask everybody to vote.
6 yes.
Item 4 is a hearing and adoption of the proposed Municipal Housing Agency annual budget for the fiscal year ending June 30 of 2020. We'll open up that hearing and ask if there's anybody here to talk about that. Municipal Housing Agency for 2020. Seeing none,
I'll move it.
item has been moved. Anybody have any points to discuss?
6 yes.
Item 5 is the approval of the certification of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development of the amended operating budget for all projects for fiscal year ending June 30 of 2019, and of the proposed operating budget for all projects for the fiscal year ending June 30 of 2020. Anybody here want to make any comments on that? Council, any, it's been moved? Any points of discussion? I know that we'll look forward to updates as they go along in some of our work sessions, so Chris, we're counting on you to keep us up to date on what's going on.
6 yes.
All right. The 6th item is a motion to adjourn.
Move.
It's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. The Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board sits adjourned. Bill, we're not supposed to start our council meeting until 4:30, so you're going to make the initial set of comments. Can you do it in 3 minutes?
3 minutes, sure. We had some great activities this weekend, and a few weekends ago, I got a chance to sit down at Wells Fargo Arena to watch wrestling. This time now I've gone down to the 3rd level. My grandson wrestled, got 4th in the state at all of 58 pounds. So
Wow.
keep watching for him to keep coming up.
Wow.
And then a big shout out, because everybody knows I am a University of Iowa graduate. The women's basketball team took it to Maryland and brought home the Big Ten championship.
Congratulations to
Yes,
the Hawkeyes.
isn't that something? And then we have a men's basketball team too. But then we had the wrestling team.
They didn't bring home the tape?
They didn't bring home the bacon, they didn't bring home the change, they didn't bring anything home. They probably had to walk home. But the wrestling team, we had Alex Marinelli, 165-pound Big Ten champion, and big things to be coming from him. Watch for that to be happening. And then, was it next weekend, we get the, 2 weekends, we get the NCAA basketball tournament. And we need to really polish ourselves off, show ourselves off, make them know that coming to Des Moines is the best thing that's ever happened to them. So,
All right. And for your comments before the opening, you want us to stand at this moment, or would you like us to sit down as you reflect more on an invocation kind of a thing?
as we invocate, we'll stand for that.
All right, we'll ask everybody to stand at this time if you would participate with us.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, bless us as we meet today. It is good to recognize how different we are, our talents, our dreams, and our backgrounds. Yet, we thank you that we can take these differences and use them for the good of our community. Even in our differences, we can move together towards a common goal. Thank you for our individuality and also for our common bond. Amen.
We go ahead and take roll. Are you okay with that? We're waiting for the clock to strike 4:30 so we can get going on this, so we'll apologize to all of you.
I do have one other comment. Speaking of walking home, a good friend of the mayor's and an admirer that I'm an admirer of, Dan Gable, had a especially frustrating meet one day, and they got as far as North Liberty. Gable stopped the bus, and they all had to walk home from there. He's a motivator.
That's only one of the things that he did through the years.
I wasn't a wrestler.
All right, it's 4:30. We'll call the Des Moines City Council meeting to order, and I will ask the clerk to please take roll.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended. I will quickly let everybody know of the consent agenda, items 3 through 39. Item 4C was withdrawn. Item 5, that was withdrawn also. And item 6A was withdrawn by the city manager for further study. There is one extra item. It's a request from Councilmember Coleman to speak regarding an extension of our agreement for the Enhanced Court Avenue Entertainment District Safety Project. Unless anybody has anything else, if we could have a motion
I'll move.
to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Item 3, this is specifically to approve the consent agenda tonight. These are items 3 through 39 for those of you that are keeping score on the agenda. And these are regular routine items that are usually enacted as one vote unless somebody asked to have one pulled off or more for explanation or discussion, and either by the city council or anybody in the general public. Tonight, I am not seeing, Madam Clerk, any items that have been pulled by the council, so I'll ask if anybody in the audience, again, these are items 3 through 39, if anyone would like to have any of those pulled off for additional explanation or discussion.
I see no, Mr. Mayor. I'll move item 3.
All right, item 3 has been moved.
6 yes.
All right. That'll take us quickly to item 40. Item 40 is an ordinance first consideration. This is amending Chapter 114 of the Municipal Code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. It's Council Communication Number 19-092. A is a code modification related to the View 23 Lofts development, 23rd Street at Ingersoll Avenue. B is a code correction related to one-way designation on Crocker Street between 31st and 33rd Streets. And C is the code correction related to incorrect references to Chamberlain Avenue. We'll open it up and ask if there's anybody in the audience has any comments to make on these.
I don't know which A, B, or C I was just looking. I'm here to talk about the parking changes made off Ingersoll at 2301 Ingersoll within the
Okay.
Woodland Heights organization.
That'd probably be A.
I'm sorry.
I think it's A. Okay.
It's
Give
been
us
a
your
long
name and
time.
address, please, ma'am.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Lila Dozier. I live at 741 27th Street in Woodland Heights for over 40 years. It's been a long time, so how do I put this? And just zoom in.
Yeah, there's a camera right
And-
above us. You look up there. What do you want to point at first?
Okay. This is from here to here. From
Okay.
here, including this.
All right, I'm going to go up just a little bit. What you can't see is that right here at the bottom,
Oh, that's okay.
where
There's a
this,
pole, yeah.
Ingersoll is at the bottom of this. So long as you believe that Ingersoll is the bottom, you can see high at the top.
Right, and that's north, so that would make sense to most people who know
Oh,
how
there
to
we
read
go.
a map.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not this one.
What? Oh, my husband and I used to fight with maps all the time, so that, I'm here to talk about, we thank Jeff Wiggins from the Traffic Department, the Woodland Heights organization. I'm here representing just the Traffic Committee. Okay, but as a lot of you know, and I brought the report with me, this report that was charged by the city council 3 years ago was the traffic study for Woodland and High, which you directed. And I'm here to ask you to direct staff to help us with exceedingly worse and worse problems between Woodland, High, and now Ingersoll. And I had talked with several staff people, so they're aware of the problem, and they're being very helpful, including Jeff Wiggins with traffic. And he's continued to meet with us, but our problem is it's gotten so bad, and Jeff had this put on the city council, but it's going to make our problems within the neighborhood even worse, because if you move or eliminate 6 parking stalls from Ingersoll and on the sides like 23rd, those cars are going to go someplace. When you look at the map, when you look at the map, our problem is, and I just drove here, so just north of the complex, that whole block is full of cars. And they go both east and west, the next block going to 22nd Street, and the next block up going to 25th Street. Right now is solid cars. And to make matters worse, there's parking for the complex on the south side of High Street. So you're reduced to 1 lane of oncoming traffic. I also brought with me just reports of traffic accidents from last year in the area that Sergeant Scarlett gave to us. We've had a major car accident at 23rd and High. Come to find out, I didn't know when Jeff Wiggins was talking to us. We knew about the major accidents on 23rd and High, but I did not know until today that the man that was hurt and in the hospital for over a month was the manager of Soul Apartments. So, and the car that, they ended up in people's yards, and if you know, any of you, the typography of the area, you'd have to be going pretty fast because they set up 10 to 15 feet above street level. And according to the police report, they were going in excess of 90 miles an hour on High Street. When you asked staff to help us, and we were before the city council, we knew that speeding, and then, of course, the traffic study showed how much speeding problem there was on both Woodland and High. They have all the data, and I just found out from talking with Chris Johansson that they're doing even further studies. But this study started 3 years ago, and they have traffic counts, speed counts, accident counts. It was a really good study, but I just found out maybe a couple months ago that Jennifer was no longer here. And so when I'm talking with Jeff, he told me that Jennifer was not there anymore, and he didn't know about the study. And I said, well, we really need these things instituted, because if you remove those parking stalls, I don't know where people are going to park. You've already taken a residential street and turned it into a parking lot. This winter was horrible, and I know it will get better. Jeff told me that the city didn't know that they had to clean the street at just north of the complex. So all winter, that was never cleaned, ever. Some of the cars had snow this high on top of them. So we started calling the police to please try to clear the area. Okay. That's my...
If you can just kind of wind it up.
Yeah. So anyway, it's gotten really, really bad. Right after the last snow, you couldn't even go through a single car on High Street.
So I think maybe if I
So-
can paraphrase a little bit, I'd like to...
So before you,
Ask-
the emergency is that if you remove 6 stalls, we have to have a plan in place on where these people are going to park. And that's why I'm requesting that the city council direct staff to start working with the organization and the traffic committee to start implementing some type of plan with the city planner and Jeff Wiggins from traffic, so that we can start getting something in place to handle the problem.
Okay. Mr. Manager, if you would consider doing that, if somebody will move.
Yeah, I'll move to receive and file. And I did want to say, my understanding is that there is a new traffic study that is
That's what Chris said.
ongoing right now. And part of that is, we heard the neighbors' concerns about the traffic issues in the area relative to the changing use. We wanted to make sure that the Soul development was leased up, including the retail space, because it doesn't do a lot of good to study something and then have significant changes because the uses are different just a few months later.
I understand.
And so I think we are at that point in conducting that study, and hopefully we will have an update based on new data incorporating the concerns that, and addressing the concerns that you and other neighbors have raised. So.
And can you give me, I have to go back to my group. How long will that take, do you think, before we get some implementation of, to
Let's
dissolve?
get a report back and have Scott or somebody get back to you with time, date specific.
And you can give that to
Fair.
Jeff, or you could give that to Chris Johansson, or are you gonna, what's the procedure? What?
Okay.
It can be provided to Chris as well to give to you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Leila. All right.
So do we want to continue?
It's been moved. There's no hearing here.
Okay.
I'll move item.
40 A, B, and C.
How about this? Can we move a 48A, B, and C, and on B and C, the second and third reading? We'll bring back A another time. Does that work for you, Josh?
That works for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
7 yes.
Item 41 is a communication report from Casey Garbs of 2125 Indianola Avenue, number A6, to speak regarding the high-risk dog ordinance. Is Casey here? Seeing none, could somebody give us a,
I'll move to receive and file her request to speak. And
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a he or she, but if they come later, I'd be willing to grant her a few minutes later if she
You
had
would?
some kind of emergency.
Okay.
I mean,
7 yes.
I'd include that in my motion.
Okay. Item 42 is from Gloria Hoffman, 4200 Leonard Place, to speak regarding the local option sales tax vote result.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Sanders and council members, here I am again. I asked to speak today to commend you and thank you for having the good judgment to put the 1 cent sales tax on the ballot. Took a little courage also, and I appreciate that. I also want to thank the people that work so hard in the community or different organizations and individuals, and certainly the citizens who voted. I've been a member of the Infrastructure CIP Committee for several months since our disasters, and I especially want to thank you regarding our 2 major proposals that were in the report that you received at a work session a while back, and that's in the agenda tonight. The one for an RFP to have a consultant for a stormwater study for the whole city is extremely important, because I think it will help avoid the kinds of problems we've had, help us plan financially for the future. And I'm especially excited about the fact that you are allocating a percentage over $500,000 out of the stormwater tax to address the current needs and the other things that need to be done along the way. That won't do it all, and we know that, but I think combined with the increase in stormwater fees, that's going to make quite a difference, and we do need to move as rapidly as we can. Although the projects can't be done quickly, I do think there's some things we need attention to from some of the other committee reports. We have horrible piles of snow all over town, and they are forecasting major rains and flooding. And so I think some of the reports had information about better communication, about debris, about notification, and receiving information about damages. And I would like to have you, what has nothing to do with our committee, move on those things as quickly as you can also. And the problems that we have been accumulating for a lot of years, and there's been neglect. We have a lot of years ahead of us, and although the allocation is for a limited period of time, 5 years, I believe, I'd like to have the council consider continuing to look at that source of funding until we get these things done, which is going to be probably 10, 15 years at the rate we're going, because they're everywhere. So that's a key also. I want to thank you. We've appreciated the support of the staff, those of us on the committee. I didn't poll them, but I know they agree with me. And so thank you for that. And thanks for continuing to work on this. It's a major issue and has been a financial drain and an emotional drain on so many people. So thanks for all you're doing for that, and let's keep the ball rolling. We're in it for the long haul. Thank you.
Gloria, thank you very much, and I want to thank you. Your voice has been loud, and we have heard you, and you are part of the reason why we put this on the ballot. So thank you for your continuing engagement. If somebody will give us a motion to receive and file Gloria's comments.
I'll move.
Seven yes.
Is the flood report on the consent agenda, or is it still coming?
Item 43 was not used, takes us to item 44, which is a review of the Zoning Board of Adjustment decision granting a use variance to allow limited food retail sales establishment selling alcohol liquor on a property at 1372 East 14th Street, and we are to choose one alternative, A, B, or C. A is the City Council remands the decision in order to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for further study. The effective date of the board's decision will be deferred to 30 days from the date of the remand. B, the City Council takes no action to review the decision in the order, and the decision of the board will become final on April 5th, 2019. And C is the City Council declines to remand the decision of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The decision of the board becomes final on this date today. So anybody want to make any comments in the audience on this item regarding a establishment at 1372 East 14th? Seeing none,
I would move item 44 and 44C.
Seven yes.
All right, item 45 is receive and file the after-action flash flood report 2018. Mr. Manager, any quick comments on that?
Yes, Mayor. I also want to thank the citizen groups that have participated in this process. We had 5 committees very diligently work through different topic areas you're familiar with. We've had a work session that we had some of the results from. There are several actionable items throughout the report that we will continually bring back to you for either policy discussions or simply reports on progress for the infrastructure improvements. There are educational materials that we'll be participating in on the insurance topic. There will be some policy discussions on the debris removal as well as decisions on the infrastructure. There is a long-standing citizens group on more of the infrastructure and sustainability that's been working with the mayor for several years. They have some suggested actionable items as well that we'll continue to bring back to you. So again, I want to thank the citizens that have participated. That was the full intent that we got from the council, is to involve the citizens, so I thank them for their participation. This is the final report.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I believe, Scott, we were going to reconvene this committee once a year to review where we are.
Actually, it's a different answer for each committee.
Okay.
And so like the insurance committee will put together materials, but will not need to meet again. But the infrastructure will likely meet a couple times a year.
That's what I wanted to make sure. It was just not pushed off each year. If we could meet twice, 3 times a year, that would keep us current, keep us aware of what's going on.
Right.
Before we have to work on these things in arrears, and we get so far behind, people suffer. We don't want to see that happen.
So there's a call for a best practice that we would have a citizen committee that deals strictly with stormwater. And so Jonathan and Public Works are putting that committee together, which will have representation from the citizens group.
Well, and to that, and I think, Bill, to your point, and Gloria's earlier, I think that is we have passed this local option. I think we as a council and our citizens want and need to know how quickly we're stepping forward on this. And I know that we're going to make some decisions, even though the tax is not collected till July 1 of this year. And we probably won't receive any money till at least about January timeframe.
A little sooner, October.
October. At any rate, I think our expectation is we begin to get everything in place, and let's get moving on this, and the citizens deserve it, and we at least know where the money's coming from, and let's get moving. Connie?
So that, Mayor, if I could real quick, that is the sales tax portion.
Right.
But the council has also approved the stormwater fee increase, and those
Exactly.
funds are available immediately.
Exactly. We're going to move those forward.
Can we develop only a monitoring report for the council on where we're at? Like whether it be a yearly monitoring report and this is what's been done, this is what's going to be done, so that everybody knows. Not, so we have some status of, we said 5 years, where are we at, how far, so everybody knows. So the monitoring, the actions of what we're doing.
Yes, and it will be listed out by the actionable items from
Okay.
each report, or from each committee.
And just if we knew this is the time of year, this is when you get it, then everybody knows where we're at with it. Would be
And that's-
helpful, I think. And there's a lot, throughout the sales tax, there's probably some need for that too.
Well, it's got to happen at least quarterly.
Or quarterly, whatever,
And-
but have a schedule set.
We can start out quarterly until the council decides otherwise.
Mr. Manager, is that citywide or is that just targeted area that,
Oh, it's citywide as far as we'll have small area plan for flood prevention as well.
okay.
So the additional stormwater fees generated $25 million, so that's,
For
there's
that was
citywide
citywide.
activities in that.
Okay.
And then the $500,000 annually from the sales tax is also a citywide plan. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else? We need to,
Do you need a motion to
Let's-
move that?
let's
with
move
those Item 45 with quarterly reporting to the council and mayor?
And additional, if need be.
Yeah.
Additional meetings if need be?
Yep.
That'll be part of my motion.
If, just one quick note
No,
of
go ahead.
clarification. It's easy to report back on the last quarter if we didn't know what we were supposed to accomplish in the plan, so,
Well, that's what you
you know,
want.
that's what I heard from you, and I just
Right.
didn't want that missed at the end, that
What we're
we'll kind of know
going to
quarter
do-
by quarter what we're going to do.
Right, for
And
the
did
next
we
quarter.
get it done?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't clarify. That's what I would expect also.
I just wanted to make
I
sure
thought
that
it
it
was
didn't
pretty
get
clear,
missed
but
in the
that's okay. I'm glad
translation.
you clarified it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that absolutely.
All right, voting's in progress.
7 yes.
Thank you all, and again, thanks to all of our citizens committees. We need to work together to make all these hopes a reality, so let's stay on it. Thank you. Let's quickly move to an extra item. It's a request from our Councilman Chris Coleman to speak regarding an extension of our agreement for the Enhanced Court Avenue Entertainment District Safety Project. Mr. Coleman, could you bring us up to date on this?
I will. Let me first say that we owe a debt of gratitude to especially Supervisor Hawkinsmith, that was one of the first in line to do something. It ironically was 3 years ago that we hosted the NCAA, and you may have read my email about this, but months before that, we had a tragic situation in the Court Avenue Entertainment District. A young man was causing trouble and was shot right on 3rd Street. And so coming off of that, and knowing Tom and I were both officers of the CVB at the time, coming off of that, we realized that we needed to show a lot of solidarity and improvement in the way that we were funding enhanced security down there. We already obviously had some patrols on the weekend. At different times, we've called them different names, the kind of swing, summer shift, the star. There's been different names that they've gone by, but we wanted a dedicated group of essentially off-duty officers. And so all the apartment owners, all the bars and restaurants in the area, the partnership through the Downtown Community Alliance and Operation Downtown, the city and the county funded a project and brought on some other interesting partners. You might remember that Mark Clark from Electronic Engineering stepped forward and contributed a high-tech camera system. In fact, we could all get on our phones and see Court Avenue right now. I think the police chief who's been at all the meetings, and he and Deputy Chief Alan Tunks has been very active in everything that we've done on this. They were at a meeting last week, but they would tell you that even the cameras have been beneficial for the recording of activities in there as they've done crime investigations and others. So the 3-year agreement we had with all the other partners expires right now, actually, I think in a couple of months. And it coincides with the NCA's coming back again. And while there's still a little bit of leftover money in the budget and we can fund some things, Councilmember Hawkinsmith committed to me to commit to you that the county would be in for another 3 years, and each of the other partners have agreed to step up if it's still important to the city, and it is to me. So that's a little update from the committee. There is a draft agreement that is identical to what we did before with new dates. The manager, I think I identified a couple of things that needed to be clarified in it, and so instead of passing it tonight, I wanted to just make sure that you were aware of it. It falls into the degree that the manager could pass on his own, but I thought you all might want to join me in, authorizing the manager to do that as just a sign of commitment to the entertainment district down there, and so that all the other partners know that we're in it for good, too. Josh, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for your leadership on this. I had an opportunity to hear Supervisor Hawkinsmith explain the program to a bunch of residents who live downtown, and they were certainly appreciative of the joint efforts and the partnership, and I think it provides benefit and is the type of collaboration that we want to continue to encourage. So real appreciative of everyone's work on it.
Good job.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I've got
Chief, do
one.
you have anything you want to add?
Chief?
No? No? Okay.
Mr. Coleman, I think great work, and I think it has been a good help. I think we need to demonstrate that, and we need to look at the budget. What kind of money do we need? Does the city need? What are all the contributions of all the partners? And, we're trying to get everything measurable at this point to see, here's where we started, here's the work we've done. It's improved by these measures so that we can speak to our citizens and let them know that this is a partnership, that it should be highly respected and has achieved a lot of the goals that we set out to do, which was to cut down on some of the bad actors down in the
Right.
Court Avenue district. So, Mr. Manager, if we could, get some of that measurables and updates. So add that to it and look forward to the report.
Yeah. Would it help if we had a motion that
move.
we'll refer this to the manager for action and a request that he return with a report that the contract has been approved and a report on the last couple of years, the data that backs up the continuation, as the mayor points out.
Right. Good job, everybody.
Seven yes.
Now, believe it or not, it is 5 o'clock straight up, and our hearings are scheduled to start at this moment. First item is item 46. Item 46 is on the consideration of the recommended capital improvement program plan for the fiscal years 2019, 2020 through years 2024-25. Council Communication Number 19-101. Mr. Manager, do you want to make a quick comment on this one? I know that we've spoken to some of these things, and certainly the roads, the streets, the potholes, the sewers, a lot of the work that we're doing on the blitzing, the blight, and everything is included in some of this, and maybe you would want to give us a quick summary of some of this work.
Sure. And obviously, we've had several conversations about the different components of our capital improvement plan. The document is available. It's very lengthy. It's a great example of teamwork throughout all the departments. As we have infrastructure, we have equipment purchases that are occurring on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis. And so this is like about an 8-month exercise in identifying the needs from a capital improvement standpoint, vetting those through the neighborhood groups, through workshop discussions, and then putting it into a budgeted priority that you have before you. So we have 6 years' worth of annual expenditures. I would thank the staff because, again, this was a huge team involvement, and present it to you and recommend approval.
Mr. Manager, because there's been some interesting discussion on social media about a couple of things, one thing that I'd like to have you address real quickly, there was some misinformation or misunderstanding regarding some widening of some of the streets and roads. If you could kind of qualify that, because I know that specifically, we're talking about a couple, 3 turning lanes as opposed to widening the street in total to going from 2 to 3 lanes. And if you could quickly detail that, I think that would be helpful for the public and anybody that occasionally watches social media.
Sure, Mayor. One example of some misinformation involves 3 different roadways and widening projects that have been skimmed back such that they are no longer widening, but just reconstruction. The 3 segments that were brought up are East Douglas, which would now be a 2-lane reconstruction with just turn lanes at the major intersections. It is no longer a 3-lane configuration. Similarly, McKinley and Indianola are no longer 3-lane functions. and you'll see that in the documentation of the CIP. So I apologize if there was some confusion from a couple years ago. There was some original intent on like the East Douglas to be widening, but the council stepped forward almost a year ago, I believe, and started talking about let's trim those back, let's make those two-lane configurations. So that is how they stand in the current CIP.
Mr. Manager, I appreciate your sorting that out, and I would just say this to all of our citizens. That's why we go out every year with our capital improvement plan and our budget and have open discussions. So if anybody has concerns, we want to hear what they are. And if we as council members don't have the immediate answers, we'll get the answers from the appropriate departments. And thank you for your concerns and thoughts and comments because we do serve each and every one of you, and we want to be fiscally responsible and let everybody know that we're trying to spend your dollars wisely.
Excellent. Mr. Mayor, just one comment. The McKinley Avenue is long coming. I mean, this street is really just almost close to a farm road. I mean, it has no curbs, it has no storm sewer, it has nothing on there. So I appreciate you adding that segment in this budget, and never was asked to be widened in any way. It doesn't need to be widened. Doesn't probably even need a turning lane in there for this small segment that we're talking about. So I know that folks tend to go to social media and post things, but I'm glad that Mr. Mayor was pointed that out and we clarified it. So thank you, and thank you to your staff for doing a good job putting this together. I know I asked a lot of questions and was able to get a lot of the answers probably 5 minutes before we adjourned here, so I appreciate all their hard work today. I know it's been a busy day for them. I will move, unless there's more comments, item 46.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna make sure to move this piece.
That'll come
That's
later.
48, sorry.
We're not there yet, but we will.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we didn't vote on something and then.
It has a vote.
7 yes.
All right, item 47, on the issuance of not to exceed $61,855,000 general obligation bonds for essential corporate purposes, council communication number 19-100A is the authorization for additional action. Let's open the hearing on that. Is there anyone in the audience to speak to item 47? Seeing none, could we have a motion? Yeah,
47 and 47A?
I read them both. Did you hear?
No, I did, but I thought you said the motion on 47.
And 47A, yeah.
And 40
Okay,
oh.
thank you, I appreciate it. I got
I can move
appropriately
47
corrected
and
here.
47A if you'd
Thank
like,
you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. $62.
7 yes.
I'll let someone else move the smaller ones.
Item 48 is on the issuance of not to exceed $955,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes. Council Communication number 19-100A is the authorization for additional action. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I would ask that some, and 48A.
Seven yes.
Item 49, the issuance of not to exceed $790,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes. Council Communication number 19-100A is the authorization for additional action. Ask if anybody has any comments on this item. Seeing none. Anybody in the council want to
I'll
move?
move 49, 49A. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Connie?
I did. I pushed it
7
once.
yes.
I didn't push it hard enough.
Item 50, on the issuance of not to exceed $515,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, Council Communication Number 19-100. A is authorization for additional action. Anybody in the audience have comment on this item? Seeing none,
This is more my price range, Mayor. I'll move 50 and 50A.
and there's no change, it's an even number.
An even number.
That one might be my bathroom.
7 yes.
Item 51, on the issuance of not to exceed $955,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, Council Communication Number 19-100 is the authorization for additional action. We'll open it up and see if there's anyone who would like to speak on this item. Seeing none,
I actually think this is the recreation, probably includes the restrooms in the park. I will move it 51.
Imagine that.
And 51A, right?
And
Nay.
51A, thank you.
7 yes.
item 52, on the issuance of not to exceed $775,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, Council Communication Number 19-100 is the authorization for additional action. We'll open item 52. Anybody like to speak to this item?
I'll move 52 and 52A.
52.
All right.
53 is next. Now you're back.
No, 53
7
is
yes.
libraries.
Good job. That was perfect.
53, on the issuance of not to exceed $590,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, Council Communication Number 19-100. A is the authorization for additional action. Let's open this one up and see if there's anyone here to speak to this item.
I'll move it. 53. This is generally for the library system.
Is that 53 and 53A?
53 and 53A.
Did you mean to vote no?
No. I'm sorry.
7 yes.
Item 54, on the issuance of not to exceed $930,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, Council Communication Number 19-100 is the authorization for additional action. Let's open it up for item 54.
I see none, Mr. Mayor. I'll move item 54 and 54A.
All right, thank you.
Seven yes.
Item 55, on the issuance of not to exceed $955,000 general obligation bonds for general corporate purposes, Council Communication Number 19-100 is the authorization for additional action. Let's open the hearing on this item. Is there anyone here to speak to this item? Item 55.
I'll move 55 and 55A.
Thank you. Ms. Coleman?
Sorry.
7 yes.
Item 56, authorizing issuance of $49,845,000 general obligation bond series 2019A and levying a tax for the payment. Council Communication Number 19-100. And there's no A on that one.
I'll move 56.
That's not it. 58. It's right here.
Thank you.
Item
7
56.
yes.
Item 57, on amendment to the annual budget for the current fiscal year ending June 30 of 2019, Council Communication Number 19-101. Is there anyone here to speak to item 57? Seeing none,
We'll move it. 57.
Seven yes.
item 58, which is on the proposed budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020, Council Communication Number 19-101. And to that, Mr. Manager, I am making the assumption that the appropriate language is in there which reflects the levy rate appropriately given the outcome of a recent election.
Actually, I would ask that that's part of the motion to reflect the 1664.
On the one that we just received.
Yeah,
I-
I can move
May-
it.
I'll move.
Go ahead.
I'll move it with the levy rate at 1664 with the 60-cent reduction.
Thank you.
I got a little snippy on social media, so all the people that said, they say they're going to lower
Yeah.
taxes,
I've heard that all week.
I'll see it when I believe it. So I told
Well, I'm glad.
dozens of people to tune in right now. I hope you're
Just did it.
watching.
Well, you might want to text it out that you
Yeah.
just lowered.
Tweet it.
Yeah, probably won't do that.
7 yes.
All I know is out of heart tweets. I haven't quite figured the rest of it
Follow
out.
through.
I need a Mandelbaum lesson.
And we're doing the tweets during,
Josh, tweet it for us, would you?
we're doing tweets during daylight hours, too. That's good.
I don't do much of it.
59 on the proposed First Amendment to the Southwest Gateway Urban Renewal Plan, Council Communication Number 19-109. Anyone here to speak to this item? From 59.
I will move item 59.
Seven yes.
Item 60. It's on the proposed Second Amendment to the Urban Renewal Plan for the Merle Hay Commercial Area Urban Renewal Area, Council Communication Number 19-107. Anyone here to speak to this item? Step up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Chris Morris. I'm the president of the Merle Hay Neighborhood Association. On the off chance that this wasn't going to pass unanimously, I would like to encourage you to take a look at this. There's a lot of really important things that are happening on our side of town, and this amendment is going to open the doors for a lot of those possibilities to happen. So please vote yes. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down, Chris.
Kind of hard to turn that down, Chris. There has been some great meetings we've already had, and we are going to continue to have some good meetings here for Merle Hay Mall, so I'm going to move item 60. 7-0.
Seven yes.
Item 61. You were very persuasive, Chris. Thank you very much. Item 61 is on the approval of documents for the conveyance of excess city property east of and adjoining 126 Franklin Avenue and vacated alley right-of-way located south of and adjoining 126 Franklin Avenue to 5 C2 Properties LLC for $3,200. Let's open the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to this item? Seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move item 61. This just keeps on going, that the good things we keep having happen down at Central Place. Keeping businesses in town and expanding, getting these things on the tax rolls is important, too.
Seven yes.
Item 62 is on a request from Savannah Homes, Inc. to rezone property at 4320 East 46th Street from A1 agricultural to R160 one-family low-density residential to allow single-family residential development. A is the first consideration in the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above, and the waiver is requested by the applicant and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and open up.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, my name is Brent Culp. I'm with Snyder and Associates at 2727 Southwest Snyder Boulevard in Ankeny, Iowa, representing Savannah Homes, and Ted Grove is in the audience with me on the Longleaf development. It's located at 4320 East 46th Street. We're proposing a rezoning amendment from A1 agriculture to R160. The concept you have shown on the board there illustrates the 60-foot wide lots circled around a cul-de-sac. We have sanitary sewer available in the northeast corner, water main along 46th Street. And we presented this to P&Z, and they provided a unanimous approval with some modifications to the conditions. And I'd like to have Ted come up and kind of review some of those.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Ted Grobe with Savannah Homes. My very sincere apologies. I thought we had everything worked out at planning and zoning as it relates to the square footage requirements in Longleaf. What we thought we had agreed to and what was on a document entitled Acceptance of Rezoning Ordinance are two different things. I carelessly signed that document based on an incorrect assumption on my part. The document mandates a minimum of 1,000 square feet on the first floor of a two-story home. When planning and zoning agreed to 1,400 square feet on 2 stories, we felt comfortable that the 1,000 square feet first floor minimum went away, because that would actually describe a story and a half. We have no problem with 1,000 square feet minimum on the first floor of a story and a half. I've built 45 of our plans in Summersfield and Brook Run Village, and none of those 2 stories have that 1,000 square foot first floor requirement. These are the same plans I'm building in Altoona, West Des Moines, and Bondurant without that mandate. If that requirement stays, there won't be any 2 stories built in Longleaf, because despite my long time in the business, I don't know how to build a 1,400 square foot 2-story with 1,000 square feet on the first floor. We respectfully request you remove the first floor 2-story mandate and concur with the P&Z unanimous decision. This was a mistake on my part. I signed the document without carefully reading it because I thought everyone would understand 1,000 square feet on the first floor and 400 square feet on the second floor makes a story and a half, which we're okay with.
Ted, I've got to ask a question. It's my understanding that there's some specific legal things that have to happen to make that adjustment. And it sounds to me like maybe the appropriate thing would be for us to maybe continue this and get those papers in order and get them in the works, and then have you sign them and everybody else sign them,
I'm fine with that, Mr.
and
Mayor.
then come back to this. I do have one other question. I'm a little curious what's going on. If you look at your thing, is this, which way's north?
The top part.
Okay, so towards the end of your cul-de-sac, if I look south, it looks like there's a field in there. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Is that, do you own that ground?
If you'll allow me to explain, I will. It'll take a minute. And this young lady would like to speak to it also.
Okay.
When we presented our initial plan at our pre-app meeting, we showed 17 55-foot lots in a PUD format to match what Hubble did across the street in Summersfield. We also showed a stub street to the south, fully intending to try to develop that land. It's no surprise that staff was recommended that stub street planning and zoning. Since then, however, our rezoning request to R1A reduced the number of lots to 15, discarded the PUD concept, increased the size of those lots, and eliminated that stub street. We did this because of new information. The Des Moines Water Department, in writing, informed us that they would not allow more than 15 lots to connect to the 12-inch main in East 46th. If extended south, they said we would have to connect to, install, and upgrade the 2-inch main in East 44th, shown here in blue. Our engineer estimates that would cost about $100,000. The fire department informed us that extending a street to the south would violate street length code without a street connection through a city-owned parcel to East 44th, shown here in yellow. Our engineer estimated that 200-foot paving connection would cost about $164,000. In addition to those two costs, installing a stub street to the south in Longleaf would effectively raise the cost of our development by about $140,000 because we would lose at least one cul-de-sac lot and have to install an additional 110 foot of paving, shown here in red. Add that to the cost mandated by the water department, fire department, staff, and the total cost to access this 3-acre parcel to the south is over $400,000. This represents $135,000 per acre before we try to buy the land or install any improvements. Eliminating the stub street did not landlock the 3-acre parcel. There's a cul-de-sac access from East 44th that would meet fire without a connection to Longleaf. The 3-acre parcel and Longleaf would each gain a lot. What we did, I felt very bad for the owners of this parcel, and I met with them and had coffee. This is the lady here. Mabel Smith is 94 in a memory care facility, and she owns this property. I met with her son and his wife, and I offered to buy the property. I'll buy the house, I'll buy the land behind it, or I'll buy both. I would put a restriction in the deed that the property would not be developed as residential, so they didn't think I was trying to run any kind of in-run. And I was going to propose an urban garden for our development and the other neighbors. My last conversation with Mr. Smith, her son, was that they were not ready at this time because of the lady, his mother's health. I'll be happy to answer any other questions on that, Mr. Mayor or council members, if you have any.
All right. Well, that seems like something else that we've got to consider moving forward, but maybe this young lady has a couple of comments.
Thank you very much. My name is Linda Lawson, and I'm the common law wife of Jerry Smith. He and his mom both own the property. She's been in an Alzheimer's care unit now for about 8 months now. And basically, Jerry is using her money to pay for her care, on a monthly basis. And as Mr. Grubb says, that 3 acres touches his property. As I understand it, and I may be wrong, I'm no architect or anything like that, when he connected to the East 46th Street water and everything, then that limited how many homes he could put onto his. And so therefore, he wasn't able to come into our 3 acres. But the problem is, he's mentioning in one of the other meetings about this right-of-way on East 44th Street. And we went to take a look at that, and Jerry's dad, 55 years ago when they bought the property, he told Jerry that there was supposed to be a street put into this. And 55 years is a long time, and of course, probably the street that was intended for this has now been abandoned, and, there is no street. I know at one time when Mr. Grove was presenting it, they were talking about an L-shaped street coming into our 3 acres, and, to give us access, because if his property has a circular drive, I see what he's doing. He's a contractor, and he's, trying to provide the best he can, for his little money. But basically, we're going to be landlocked out because, yes, there is an access across 44th Street, but Jerry wouldn't even have known about it if his father hadn't told him about it. I don't know how many times these 2 properties on 44th have been traded, sold, and they may just be of the opinion, well, I have to mow it, therefore it's mine. So I feel real hesitant about trying to all of a sudden come in onto these people's property with farm equipment and, saying we're going to be coming through, I don't want to have guns coming out to me or anything like that. But we took a look back at the back of the property today. And this has been the first day we've been able to climb over all the snow to take a look at it. And if we could get up onto the property from this crossover on East 44th Street, we would have to clear out just thousands and thousands of dollars worth of trees that have grown there for the past 60 years. And all the years that Jerry and his mom have had the property and farmland alternates between corn and soybeans. The most they've ever made off of it is $300 a year, and that just basically pays for the taxes on the 3 acres. So trying to farm it after, all of this, I mean, it's going to be infeasible. We're not going to be able to farm it anymore, and he and his dad have had it in farmland for 55 years. So what Jerry was trying to see, if that L-shaped road is still under consideration, or if it's not, to let it go and convert into like prairie grassland or something like that, around, what's the name of that park? Union Park, around the carousel. It just kind of grows and nobody has to do anything to it. It's good farmland. There's no water back there that would attract mosquitoes or anything like that. So we're just trying to see, just let it go and let it just be natural. And like I say, Jerry and I see his mom almost every day. We're over there feeding her and everything like that. So, and all the money is going to her care and everything. And Jerry's not trying to get rich off of it. Mr. Grobe offered $5,000 for the 3 acres. If it had been a little bit more, I think I might have been able to talk Jerry into it. But he's, with his mom and everything and his health, he just can't handle the pressure right now. But he told Mr. Grubb, when we can sell it, he'd give him first option at it. His mom is sort of like one of those hoarders, and she hasn't thrown a single piece of paper away in 55 years. So it's going to take us a long time to go through that property. And Mr. Grove offered for us to rent it from him when we sell it, but that seems kind of like a waste to rent what you already own. So, and to Jerry, it just got another pressure off of him. He just can't handle pressure like this, and he's getting enough with his mom's health. So we're just trying to see if we can, if it doesn't go through and there is no sale, if we can just let it grow. There's no mosquitoes back there or anything like that. It's good farmland. Just let it go into natural. And because there's just no way for us to spend those thousands of dollars cutting down hundreds of trees to get in there to make $300 a year in profit off of the farm income. Do you know what that L-shaped road is still in there, or are they still talking about that?
Was this land that we took over at what point? When did this become Des Moines?
Annexed?
And when did we annex this land?
I took some pictures today, but I wasn't able to get them, all developed because
Right.
we've had so much snow. I just couldn't get back there. I'm 68 and over 200 pounds, and it took me all I had just to get the pictures.
It's been a tough winter.
Here, where it will turn this way.
Oh, no, must be yours. Or just the next
this
one.
So, Mr. Mayor, do we just
Use the word easement.
want to continue this?
I think
and
we do
then
need
the
to. I think it
discussion
needs
can
more.
Go back to staff and Mr. Grubb, and
One
we can
clarification,
work
when
on.
I met with this lady and Mr. Smith, I offered them $141,000 for their house and land.
Not
And-
5,000.
Not 5,000.
Oh,
And-
okay.
And they
figured not.
said, could they rent the property back for 2 years? And I said, yes, you can. Because I wasn't really interested in the house, but I felt badly for them because you can't financially develop that 3 acres into residential.
And we can't financially farm it. There's just,
So I thought an urban garden would be a nice solution.
So there's a lot of unanswered questions. I think the best resolution is to have you sit down with staff and it looked like, I read through the planning and zoning, it's 1,400 square feet, but that's what, you're gonna build 1,428 square feet home, right? Is what it said in there, is that correct?
Well, We have 12 different plans that we've built. We've built 45 houses in Summersfield,
Yep.
Brook Run Village. And they range anywhere from 1,300 square foot ranches up to 1,528 square foot two-stories.
Okay.
The one
Those
thing
are
on,
the same houses we wanted to
can I
build
just
here.
bring up on this, because originally, I think the original plans by staff was that they wanted 1,800, they wanted bigger homes in this area, so they've come down now. So I think we need to look at all that, because I was a little concerned when I saw that we were coming down on brand-new property, that we have opportunities to build some bigger homes on the northeast side of town. So we've come down once, so I think, again, if we continue and look at, make sure on the square footage, because it looks like on our answer, the 1,000 is fine on the, so I think there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that staff probably, I know there was a certain development on the south side that was next to Easter Lake, that we kind of upped the ante a little bit, just from the position that was in there and what some of the neighbors really asked for, and the developer agreed to that. But I think the numbers were actually lower, and we kind of pushed to have it a little bit bigger just because of the site on the south side. So I just think there's a lot of unanswered questions, and we could sit and talk about it all night, but we're probably not going to get anywhere. So I think the best thing to do would be continue item 62, would be my motion. If you're okay with that, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
I'm sorry, sir, when would the next meeting be?
It depends on how soon staff would, do you think it would be March 25th or in April? 2 or 4 weeks.
would be certain.
April 8th.
Okay.
So let's look for April 8th.
April 8th.
April 18th?
That'd be good?
8th.
April 8th.
That'd be good, Mike?
Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
April 8th, we would bring it back after you were able to meet with staff, and are you okay with that? And that would be part of my motion, then, to bring it back in front of us and hopefully have some of the details, and
So we're going to continue till April 8th.
Okay.
maybe if Linda's not able to be there, maybe one of the at-large council members can help out with it if they need any assistance.
She may not be able to be there. I can,
Connie would probably be.
Connie is probably best, and I could go along with her.
I was just saying, if Linda's not able to be there, if they need some direction from the council, I'm sure one of the at-large council members can be a part of that. All right, that'll be part of my motion for item 62.
Thank you kindly, sirs.
Thank
And
you.
ma'am.
6 yes.
All right. Item 63, these are on items regarding Full Court Press, Inc. of 3506 University Avenue to allow the existing restaurant to be reclassified as a tavern use. A is to amend the Des Moines Plan DSM, creating our Tomorrow Plan future land use designation from low, medium density residential to community mixed use. B is rezoning of the property from R3 multifamily residential to limited NBC neighborhood pedestrian commercial. C is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and D is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by the applicant and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and open item 63. Anyone here to speak to this item regarding Full Court Press at 3506 University?
Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, I'll move item 63, A, B, C, and D.
Seven yes.
All right, item 64. These are items regarding requests from Brown Dog Realty LLC, 2110 Wakanda View Drive, to allow rezoning to limited C2 general retail and highway-oriented commercial to allow off-street parking, loading, and maneuvering areas to the west of the existing plumbing and mechanical shop. A is to amend the Des Moines Plan DSM, creating our Tomorrow Plan future land use designation from low-density residential to community mixed use. B is rezoning of the property from R180 one-family residential to limited C2 general retail and highway-oriented commercial. C is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and D is the final consideration of the ordinance above, and the waiver is requested by the applicant and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and open the hearing on this. Brown Dog Realty, property at 2110 Wakanda View Drive, to switch it from, to rezone it to limited C2. Anybody here to speak to this item?
Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, I will move 64A, B, C, and D.
Question?
Excuse me.
Seven yes.
Item 65, this is on blank golf course maintenance shed improvements, a resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as JPG Company LLC. Jared Geis, President, $191,000. Council Communication Number 19-089. A is approving the contract and bond and permission to sublet. Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item regarding blank golf course maintenance shed? Anybody? Seeing none?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'll move 65 and 65A. I'm glad it came in under engineering bid. It's kind of nice. Yeah. It needs it. I have pictures of this building. It's a mess. The roof is very, very old.
Oh, sorry.
Seven yes.
All right, unless anybody has anything else, I thank everybody for coming down tonight, and this meeting is adjourned.